Welcome back to Student Docs. I'm Carole Adrienne, and we hope to inspire you and inform you at the same time. If you've ever thought about making a documentary, we have new documentary filmmakers who are going to enhance your experience and share theirs. As the host, I get to see the clips ahead of time, and I usually watch them twice. First, when they come in, and then I watch again a day or two before we shoot, just so if there are any other questions I wanted to ask the filmmakers. The film we're going to show today, or a clip from it, is called The Mayor, and it's the only one that I went back and watched 3 times because it gave me two wonderful things in this crazy COVID-19 era that we're going through. It gave me happy tears and it gave me hope. Travis is someone who deals with a lot of challenges, and he deals with them with 3 times as much charm. So we're going to take a look at the film. With no further ado, I give you his honor, the mayor.
One of my favorite stories and one of my favorite moments as a human being on this planet was at the Little League World Series.
That's right. And this is Travis McCulcum. He happens to be deaf.
That's right.
He was on his 3rd strike or something, and he was like, no, like, I know I've had 3 strikes, but give me 1 more.
And they brought the tea out, and he looks at the tea, and he looks at the girl that brought it out, and he goes, get this out of here.
Oh, he's saying I don't want it.
You don't want that tea. Crowd loves that. Now you look at the concentration on his face right now.
I don't need no stinking tea.
He hits it away. What a shot.
Seeing that, I was like, there's something there. That's a kid that does not give up, and he's like, I don't care about the rules. I'm doing it. I know I can do it. Give me another chance. I have a lot of memories actually of TJ as a kid, especially because my aunt would come pick me up and we would go do things together. He's the mayor, walking up to people, like shaking hands, introducing himself. He would bowl, he would get a strike and then bow to the crowd behind him. Sometimes there was never a crowd behind him, like he would just do it. And you're like, who is this kid? Like, who?
My turn? No, help you. Can you help me? Okay. Show me.
My first baby as a newborn, really still trying to be a baby. He was on all kinds of monitors. He was on a heart monitor, a pulse ox monitor, and he had sleep apnea. So he was on all kinds. We had wires everywhere. He also developed. He had acid reflux. They had to give him medicine for that. He was on oxygen, and we got him off of that within the first 4 months. And, yeah. There's my boy. Okay, you're crushing mommy. Okay, love you.
You know, and Travis was tough. Travis was a tough case because, again, he just didn't have deafness. He just didn't have behavioral problems. He had feeding issues. He had, cognitive impairment. He had, obsessive compulsive disorder, a little bit of autism spectrum. So there was a line of thinking in the school district that the school and the district towed the line. And their line of reasoning was, and this is a difficult scenario, but they said that Travis is too cognitively impaired to really benefit from sign language or being immersed in sign language. He's never gonna, what really goals could you have for him? He's not gonna benefit all that much, and his behavior and his cognitive impairments are too drastic for him to benefit. They'll tell you that this is as far as you can go. They'll say, yeah, like this is probably all it's ever going to be. You just can't believe that, because they have to decide how far they can go. That's my job, is to just try to give him the opportunity to go as far as he can.
Travis walks into a room and he commands attention, and it's not because he's loud, and it's not because he's, obnoxious or running around, whether he's doing those things or not, but that's not why. It's his personality. It's who he is in his being. He's charismatic. It's why we call him the mayor, because he reaches out to people and he draws in their attention with the lift of a finger.
Everybody said I was always very selfish before I had Travis. Can't be when you have a kid like him.
You have a whole group of people that never thought that he would be able to control his behavior. You had a whole group of people that never thought that he'd be able to eat solid food. You had a whole group of people that thought that he would not benefit from being immersed in a deaf school and learn sign language. So I would say that this is a story certainly not even at its middle, and whose ending will surprise us all.
He's had obstacles and struggles and all the stereotypical things that you hear, but throughout all of it, he's just kept on loving everyone, loving life. I guess to others that's not much of a story, but that's Travis. That is his story. That's who he is. No matter what he's been through, he still keeps loving.
I lose my breath whenever I see you. You stole my heart, what is it that you do? My life was great till you added colors. Like the moon needs the sun, we don't care about the others. You set my world on fire. You're my heart's desire.
Hi, I'm happy to introduce the filmmakers. We have Paisley, Blair, and Taylor Corson, producer and director, respectively. I normally start with a question to the producer, but this time I'm going to do it a little differently, because this is a question about a response to the producer and how the team came about. Taylor, would you tell us how Paisley inspired you to get involved with this film, please?
So on the very first day of our documentary production class, I heard Paisley's pitch for the mayor, and I knew I wanted to be the editor of somebody's story, but I just wanted to hear everybody's stories first. And as soon as Paisley talked about Travis and all the obstacles that he's overcome in the short little 16 years that he's lived, he was just so inspiring to me for how happy he is after going through all the challenges that he has. So I introduced myself to Paisley right after she pitched, and I said, I'm Taylor. I want to be the editor of this story. Has anybody spoken to you yet? And she was like, no, I'd be happy to have you on my team. And so ever since that day, we've collaborated really well, and we ended up with a beautiful story.
You really did. And I am so hoping that you guys will enhance this film and make an even longer one. I am looking forward to possibly an hour-length documentary in the future. Paisley, Travis is somebody who really illustrates the resilience of the human spirit and the capacity for joy. Can you tell us a little bit about your relationship?
So I have known Travis my whole life. He's my cousin. And, it's just such a loving relationship full of, mutual understanding. I had to learn sign language to communicate with him because he is profoundly deaf. And, there's times where I'm not always the quickest with it, but he is so in tune with the people around him that we kind of just get each other and we have inside jokes and we laugh and we always have a good time together.
It really is. It's kind of like dealing with someone who speaks a different language or comes from a different culture, but we're all coming from the same place as humans. And he is a human with a heck of a sense of humor
Yes.
and a natural born performer. Now, where did you shoot most of the footage with Travis?
So most of the footage that we got was done up in Connecticut. That's where he goes to school. He goes to the American School for the Deaf. And so we really wanted to get, a lot of his lifestyle up there and what that means for him. So yeah, bulk of the shooting was done up in Connecticut.
What were some of the challenges that you guys faced in the shooting?
I mean, just beyond, kind of being amateurs and getting used to the equipment and used to working in a group. We had issues with, timing and scheduling. The school that he goes to really has places a lot of importance on the privacy of the students. And so, when we wanted to go and shoot there, we were only given a 2-hour window to shoot at the school. And for us, sometimes setup takes a little bit longer than expected because we're just figuring it out. And so we were really nervous about that. And then, on top of that, the whole coronavirus thing kind of got in the way and things got canceled and we had to, re-strategize our entire story.
It really, it's a kind of a good indicator about the whole industry because coronavirus aside, which obviously presents challenges to so many filmmakers, but it is one of those fields where stuff happens. People walk into the frame, you lose stuff, equipment goes, and you really have to roll with it and think on your feet. So, Taylor, what did you run up against that gave you a good challenge and a half?
So the biggest challenge for me was definitely the pandemic. When we started this, we were having our group meetings at our school like a couple times a week, and we were physically, communicating with each other. So being forced to do everything at home, I was by myself and I had to apply all of my creativity on my own. So Paisley and I would FaceTime for like 10 hours a week, and I would email my professor every single day, just trying to keep the story on track. So for me, doing it by myself, in my room was definitely the biggest challenge for me.
How did it affect your feeling about being an editor?
It made me realize how much I truly love it because I would wake up and I would do this all day, every day up until I would go to bed. So, 40 hours, if not more, a week spending on an 18-minute documentary is a lot of time. So it just made me realize how patient I am and how much I love the art of storytelling through editing.
Wow, you got a pretty good mirror for your own gifts then. That's when you find you love something that much that you're willing to spend that much time. And it is a time consuming process. I mean, it's so exacting. But when you realize, whoa, I really love this, that's kind of one big thing to chalk on your list that this going forward. Paisley, how do you feel about the producing? Is this something that you want to stick with?
So I, going into making the film, was very, very nervous because my technical aspects, my technical skills are lacking, in my opinion. And so when I was able to be the producer, I was excited because I knew I had enough proficiency with technical skills and then also just, organizational skills, people skills. And so through the documentary, I found that it was something that I enjoyed and I was good at, reaching out to people and connecting and, kind of putting everything together and keeping everyone in place. It was something that I found not only that I enjoyed, but I was actually good at, which kind of surprised me a little bit.
Being the producer is, I know when I finally found that position, because I'm a non-techie person too, but I understand the parameters, but I'm really not good with touching equipment. So it gave me the best seat in the house in the end, because then you can be surrounded by people who are really good at the technical stuff and who want to make it wonderful. So now you guys have a lot of music in this. How did you deal with the music? Was it a pain with copyrights? Was it original? What went on with that? The music.
So as far as the music, we got a license for Epidemic Sound, and we got a bulk of our music from there. But we did have our cameraman. His name is Kyle. His brother Ryan was kind enough to give us some of his original pieces. through the piano. So we used a lot of that in the film as well. So that was really nice.
Wow. Who else was on your crew? Let's just name them so they can tune in. It looks you all did such a beautiful job.
So we had Kyle Four as our cameraman. Claire McKissick was our director, and Anna Rose Wright was our production assistant.
Oh, great job. Really wonderful job. Now, what do you hope that people will take away from seeing the mayor?
As far as what I want for people to see when they watch The Mayor, just hope that it's not just about people who have certain challenges. It's just about the human spirit, and even when things seem really, really, really hard, and like there's no possible chance of getting by, and even just experiencing happiness and love and comfort, there is, and you just have to keep trying. And Travis is an exceptional example of that. But that sort of story is something that everybody can, relate to.
I think so. I did. I mean, I think it's why I went back and watched it that third time. It was just so inspirational and encouraging at the same time. And you think, wow, if this kid can deal with what he deals with and be a happy and productive and enthusiastic person, we can make it through COVID-19. Oh. Do you feel that it changed you in any way, personally or professionally, to work on this particular film, Paisley?
So I'm a very emotional person to begin with, and so I, went into it thinking, I'd be invested, obviously, because it's my cousin. But as far as personal growth, I had a bit of a realization that there's this person in my life, and they love me so deeply and think of me so often. And I think I had a little twinge of maybe guilt or shame that I did not, pay as much attention to him as he does to me. And so it made me just, I guess, slow down and really focus on the people in my life. Taylor can attest to all the tears and emotional breakdowns I had, not over frustration, but just over, the profound realization of how much love was in my family, and especially with Travis.
It comes through. It really comes through in that clip. Taylor, how about you? What did you find out? Like, in addition to, I think, finding your place in the film TV industry, what did you find out about yourself personally or professionally about after working on The Mayor?
So I would say that I definitely found my niche in filmmaking. I had always known that I loved the process of it, but I wasn't really sure if I wanted to be an editor. And, after spending as much time as I did on this particular film, I realized that this is definitely where I want to be and what I want to make my career.
It's a gift to know that early. That it really is quite something. Now, what kind of equipment were you guys using in terms of production equipment, cameras, lights, sound equipment? How did that go?
So we had two cameras. We had I think it was the Sony FS5 and a Panasonic GH5. Yeah, you can correct me if I'm
Yes,
wrong.
I think that's correct.
Yeah, okay. We used lavalier microphones a lot, the wireless ones, just because, we were always on the move. Travis is a very quick young man, so the wireless mics definitely came in handy a couple of times. And then for the sit-down interviews, we did use a couple of different lighting setup kits. I remember exactly which one we used the most. But yeah, we had it all. We had lighting, sound. We did have boom mics, obviously, for ambient sound, and just when we couldn't really get in with the wireless. And I think that was pretty much it.
It's interesting. So many of the young filmmakers that we've dealt with have, if they've had one big challenge, it's been with the audio. And you guys really don't seem to have had that issue, or did you?
I'll let Taylor take this one if she wants.
Go, Taylor.
So just trying to figure out, connecting the audio to the camera equipment was, our biggest challenge, because dealing with how busy, our lives were with our classes and stuff, we didn't have enough time to really practice with the equipment. So we would just kind of practice on set before we would start shooting, and it did work out eventually. We got it to work, but to start, it was definitely a struggle.
Mhm. You guys also did something that I haven't had students who utilized yet, which is closed captioning, which is very appropriate for dealing with someone who's deaf and their friends who may be deaf as well. How did that go? What's involved with that?
So the closed captioning had been a goal of mine to include from the beginning of the film. And then it kind of got away with me, with the pandemic. As Taylor said, we were, trying to FaceTime and get through the editing together. So the closed captioning sort of fell to the wayside for a moment. And then I think it was 2 days before the premiere, Travis's father, Pete, had texted me and asked, is there going to be closed captioning? Because his friends at his school are going to want to see it and the staff of the school are going to want to see it. And I had like this panicky moment, like, oh my God, we forgot the closed captioning. So I emailed our professor really quick and she recommended this website, rev.com. And that's who we used for the closed captioning. It was a paid service, but it really was, for the purposes of our film, it was not expensive at all. And it was like a 24-hour turnaround. So my panic subsided and it worked out really, really well.
Wow, 24-hour turnaround. That's awesome. Now, has Travis seen it?
Yes. And
what did he?
So he shows it to everyone he can. Yeah.
I'm so glad. Well, what would you like us to take away from seeing the mayor?
To take away from the mayor, I would say that number one, anything is possible because Travis is a testament to that. And then also number two, don't judge a book by its cover too. That's not a major theme in the film, but that's just how I feel personally about Travis. People are a little apprehensive to come up to him and speak with him and communicate with him, but he is never afraid of anybody. He is a very loving, welcoming person. And I think sometimes just because he looks or acts different, people are afraid of him, and there's absolutely no reason to be. He's a loving, charming young man, and there's plenty of people out there like that, and all they need is a chance.
It looks to me like he really reaches out to make other people comfortable with him, too. I mean, he's just so engaging that you can't not engage. Mm-hmm. What's your hope for it, Taylor? What should we take away from the mayor?
So to kind of allude to what Paisley was saying, I would say, don't judge a book by its cover, because there's a point in the film where Paisley actually says people just see Travis for who they want to see, like referring to his disabilities or whatever, but they don't actually get to know him. And when you do get to know him, we got to work hands-on with him, and he is so fun and he's so happy and loving. And if he can get through those kinds of obstacles, then you can get through anything. And he is a pure example of that.
Wow. I think the timing is wonderful for a piece like this. And I'm really hoping it gets lots of play because you guys have done an important thing. You really have. And I think that you've made those points with this film in a really quiet but loving way. What would you do differently next time you make a documentary? To put you on the spot.
Personally, what I would do differently, double check everything that we do. Double check the microphones, double check that you brought batteries, double check that you have a screwdriver, because at one point I had to run down to the car and get cuticle scissors to undo these teeny tiny little screws because we had nothing else to, I think it was a microphone mount. Just double check constantly before you leave when you get there, That I think if we had done that, we might have saved ourselves a couple of headaches.
You will never be caught without again. Really. How about you, Taylor? What would you do differently?
So as the editor and being a perfectionist with that, I would definitely watch the film on a bigger screen before I am completely done with it. Because, I watched it on my tiny little computer and it looks one way, but then when you watch it on a bigger screen, the graphics are smaller than you think, and there might be glitches here or audio bumps there. So, there's nothing major that I regret about the film, but that's just one thing that I would do differently next time.
I think that's a profound observation, and I think that that's true of audio as well. Sometimes I've been working in the studio and we're dealing with big speakers, but when they play back towards a finished version, they'll play it on little like car speakers to see if it's as clear and as it should be. Wow. Well, what would your advice be for first time filmmakers, documentary filmmakers? Um, what would you suggest?
Well, first of all, always be prepared for anything. But also, not just prepared, equipment wise and technical wise, but emotions. Like I said, I became very emotional on set and I was not expecting it. It's a very emotional story. So, it was kind of expected, but just to the degree, it doesn't matter what the subject is, there's always this chance that you're going to get entwined in the story and really become wrapped up in it. So just, prepare for that, side of things that I was not even thinking about when I started the film.
Wow, you are so right about that. You don't realize that it can grab you and the emotion is powerful. And especially you were dealing with someone from your family. And so there's even more of a closeness there, but you're also involved with the art of it. So that is pretty intense. Wow. What would you say, Taylor? What's your advice for up
So,
and coming filmmakers?
my biggest piece of advice for an aspiring documentary filmmaker would be to definitely find your niche, whether that's producing, directing, editing, whatever that is. Stick to it, pour your heart and soul into it, and there is no way that you'll regret the outcome if you do everything that you can to make it as perfect as possible.
Wow. Now, you guys just both graduated from Rowan University's radio, TV, film department. Is that right? Now, and that sounds like you had Professor Nikolai, uh, who
Yeah.
did a wonderful job with her documentary classes, I can see. Uh, so, what are you moving on to? Or are you both going to kind of let it sit for a minute?
Well, I'm just looking forward to seeing where the mayor goes for now. And then on top of that, I've just relocated, so I'm getting settled, and then I'm going to be on the hunt for a new project or a new position somewhere.
Oh, that's great. Well, please know that I am going to watch it one more time because every time I watch it, it just, that'll be my fourth. But it's so inspiring and life affirming, really. So thank you both so much for making making a view into Travis's life available to all of us. And what a beautiful life it is. Thank you so much, Taylor and Paisley, and I can't wait to see what you guys do next. So please join us next time on Student Docs.